What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I have a video on the brand new French tier 10 medium tank, the Project Murat. This is a quick tank that has a 2-shot autoloader. You have a 14.5 second magazine reload time, 2.4 second inner clip, you have a 3 second aiming time, your DPM sits right around 2600, and you have pretty good accuracy at .281. Your average damage is 370, and as you can see with those 2 shots, you usually do around 750 damage in a clip. You also get 9 degrees of gun depression and some pretty impressive hull and turret armor. It also has this weird gun depression flap thing on top of it. So, your hold down armor profile is actually really good for the size of the tank. The rest of the tank has really terrible armor. The sides and the rear, you can HE, pretty much anything can HE them. From a lot of angles, it doesn't just have to be looking right at it, but the hold down armor profile on this thing is pretty phenomenal for a medium tank. You do have to watch out though, the lower plate is very large and it protrudes pretty far up into the armor profile of the tank. The upper plate's just really small, so it's kind of the same thing for me that the Object 452K gets, where you can be hold down but you go a little bit too far and they can see your lower plate, which is a really easy pen for every tank. So you just got to watch out when you're poking a ridgeline to make sure that you're actually hold down. So far, this tank has felt pretty toxic to play. It's very hard to pen, it's really quick, and it does 2 shots, 2.4 second inner clip, doing 750 damage with one being that hard to damage in return. It just feels really strong. I don't think that it's necessarily super overpowered just because it's so easy to damage, and it's a really French tank because it has no armor everywhere else and it's very large. It seems pretty balanced, but at the same time the gun is just so punishing if you catch somebody out, and they don't have to make a huge mistake for it to matter either, because your inner clip is only 2.4 seconds, so it's just one shot and then the next shot. It almost feels like a less overpowered TVP. In this clip here you see what the armor profile actually looks like from Murat to Murat. Like, I can't pen anywhere on his turret, and I have 345 heat pen. I am running calibrated shells. I'm going to flash up on the screen what my loadout is here, because you guys always ask me what my loadouts are and I always forget, so here you go. Alright, so now that you guys see what I run on it, have a general idea of the tank. It's fast, big, good hold down, bad armor everywhere else, and a 2-shot autoloader. Let's look at some of my gameplay and see how I use it. So first I'm going to go med side. I'm not going to be super aggressive off of the hill, because as soon as you get off of the hill and you're on flat ground, your armor is useless, and I want to not take damage, because once this thing starts taking damage, it's very easy to kill, kind of like an AMX-30B. Now that we have killed their mediums, I'm going to move in towards the heavies here and try to shoot them, but this enemy Murat pops up, didn't expect to see him there. Get a free 2 shots in, and we're back on reload. That's a pretty easy theme for this tank. You're going to have 2 really easy shots, and then you're going to have 14 seconds to think about what you want to do next. Here, I'm going to try to get damage into the VK90 and the E75, and I'm going to get shot in the back here because I did not realize the BZ75 was looking this direction. I realized that, and then I see that the 268 is also spotted, and the 268 is the reason that I'm peeking the right side of the bridge and not the left side. So I'm going to go over here and try to help kill him, but my team actually does that for me, and now that allows me to go in on this BZ75. There's nobody protecting him, he's completely alone, so I have a crossfire, and he's going to be looking at my teammates because they're both lower than me, and if he's smart, he's not going to shoot the higher HP tank. I'm also able to go hold down over here, so if he turns and looks at me, I can just go behind one of those ridges and there's nothing he'll be able to do about it. You can see that even though it's a 2-shot autoloader, I'm pretty consistently reloaded. I don't have to wait a huge long time to get those 2 shots ready. My reload is probably only 5 seconds longer than his. Obviously I have to wait for my inner clip as well, but for an autoloader, that's really fast. We finished the clip off, and now we're just going to speed boost back and clean up these tanks in our spawn. 2 1v1s going on. The easiest one to get to will be this E75 first. We're going to take his tracks off for the Emil so that the Emil can get some damage out of it. And then the second shot ends up going low and not penning, unfortunately. So now that the Emil kind of has the upper hand in that fight, we're going to go help this IS-8 with his VK90 and see if we can save him. Again, it's a two-shot autoloader, but just as I move into this engagement, I'm already ready to go. And the tank only weighs like 30-something tons, so I didn't do really any damage there, and I took a ton. So it looks like it might be heavy because of how large it is, but really it has no substance to it. It's not a very heavy tank. Just something to keep in mind, especially now that the E50M is back in meta. You don't want to get rammed by something like that and then have to deal with it. I just want to show this real quick before we move on. It's a 1v1 with the WZ-121 and then the Murat afterwards, but the WZ-121 is too low profile to pen my upper plate because of the angle and how tall this tank is. But the Murat is able to pen me in a facehug because it's taller, so it's looking down on my upper plate. Which means if you facehug shorter medium tanks or shorter tanks in general that can't see your lower plate because they don't have enough gun depression, they're going to struggle to damage you in a facehug unless they have very high pen guns that can overmatch your upper plate. Alright, so for our next game here, we're going to be on mines. I'm just going to go to the same spot I usually go to. If the enemy wants to cross onto the hill, I'm going to spot them right through that gap right there that M60 is crossing. I didn't think he was, so I backed up, so I only get one shot, but if I was peeking where I initially started, I probably would have gotten both shots into him. Regardless, he peeks me again. I trade for it because he's so low. There was a chance that I kill him with my 370 alpha, but ends up not happening. I start to leave here. I'm thinking, like, surely there's no way this guy peeks me. Of course, he peeks me on 50 HP just to get that extra shot in. But anyway, we're going to go back towards our spawn. And because he did that, I'm actually now going over here to see if I can finish him because I'm annoyed that he did that, but somebody else gets him. So now we're just going to move on towards the enemy heavies and see how we can work the town. We have 3 heavy tanks in the town here, so we're safe to move up. As long as we don't overextend, we're good. This is not the situation where you can't go town because we have 3 tanks here and I'm the 4th. There's no way they're just counter pushing this and winning. There's an example of that upper plate really working well. And again, it's just such a toxic system. Like, I peek, he quickly reacts, barely has time to react, bounces the shot, and then I immediately have another one, and he took 750 damage. It just doesn't feel really fair because of how quick and how much armor it has. There are shots like that that miss, but I didn't really fully aim it, and then I followed up with that shot there. It's a really good tank, so far at least. Now that we're over here, our main goal is going to be to finish this E75, and then the reason I'm being so passive is because of their Conway in the back. I don't want to take a free shot from the Conway, but I see that the Conway, looking at the kill feed, is actually focusing the mid-hill, so I'm not too worried about him. I start to peek a little bit more freely. I don't want to give him any shots because that might turn his attention back over here, but it allows me to work this a little bit more aggressively. And for example, I'm willing to risk this clip here because I know that the Conway may have fired towards the mid or maybe looking towards the mid, and he's not going to react in time unless he was already pre-aiming. It's just a risk that I'm willing to take knowing that his focus isn't on this side. Again, I see him take a massive amount of damage. And depending on the type of player that either means that he's sitting there and staring or he's back down. I see that he's back down, so I'm going to peek on this Sturv K, get both of my shots into him, and you can see, like, it's not a consistent DPM. It's not like, oh, I'm getting shot over and over again by this guy, which makes them kind of forget you. Like, I shot that Sturv K twice and did 750 to him, and then I kind of backed off and made it look like I was looking at something else. And by the time he lost attention of me, and if I wasn't being proxy spotted, I would have been unspotted too. I have 2 more shots ready for 750. It's a consistent clip, and that's what makes it so good, because you don't have to wait that long, but it's just long enough to where they kind of lose sight of you, kind of forget that you're there, and you're in a quick platform. Like, you can pull up, peek out real quick, and then hide again. And if you do it right, you take very little damage for it and deal a ton of damage. Now, this third game, we're on Mayan Ruins. I'm going to go med side. They have 4 heavies, so I'm not too concerned about there being too many people over here. But they also have a med and a light, so we could run into equal forces, but our tank destroyer is also coming. So I spot over here first, and this is a good spot for the crossing if there's heavies or anything coming. I end up spotting the 268. I wait a little bit longer to see if their heavies come through. They have an IS-7 and a Mark 6, so chances are, you know, I may have spotted them. It depends on how they spawn and how quickly they react. I just don't want to sit there for forever to see if they're coming. And there's 2 heavies spotted on the other side of the map anyway. I'm going to go up through mid and focus out this Vickers light here. I get 2 shots in. He makes the mistake of turning to shoot me. I don't know if he just doesn't know how short my inner clip is, but once this thing is looking at you, again, it's like a TVP. You just have to immediately hide because the inner clip is so fast that you don't have time to snap a shot and then go away. It's got one loaded as soon as it's looking. This is the 9 degrees of gun depression coming into play. This feels great. I don't play tanks with gun depression, so I'm never able to make those shots. I just have to go around. Taking those shots, knowing that I have like a red armor profile right now, they can't even pen me back, feels pretty good. I'm sure guys that play like STB1s and stuff, that feels familiar, but for me, it's kind of a new thing. Again, as soon as we get back into the game, our clip is already reloaded. I can't stress how how good this clip feels being only 14 seconds and then having such a strong inner clip. It feels just like a guaranteed shot, single shot gun, because you basically guarantee the 2 shots and then only have to wait 14 seconds. If it had 750 alpha and a 14-second reload, it would be pretty similar. The gun as well, it feels really good. I'm played a couple games in this. I don't know if there's a lot of examples in the clips that I show, but like when I turn and snap shots, they just hit. Like this thing hits where it's aiming really consistently, which is funny because it's so bouncy, and I find that tanks that bounce around like this miss their shots a lot just because of the way their suspension is. But this thing, when I look at things, it pens. The aim time is a little long. You can see in that clip, it takes a second to aim, but the aim circle doesn't get that large when you're moving around, so it makes shooting on the move and snapping off at people very easy to do. Here you're going to see an interesting bounce. I guess I hit the underneath the turret there. That's red. Unfortunate. Makes me miss out on a shot of damage just under 4k. But a good game nonetheless. It kind of showed the clip, the gun depression, all of that. The tank is really good. So if you guys are looking to grind this line, don't be afraid. Like this is a really good tank. I don't know if it's worth being like over 1 million XP for the whole line. This is just the last tier 10 that I really have, so I got it. I mean, is it worth it? If you got the time, yeah, it's definitely worth it. It's very good. But I just have a feeling that they're going to nerf this tank. I don't know why, it just feels like something that they're going to nerf in the next update. It just has the right combination of armor, mobility, and firepower that it just feels like one of those things that they drop in the game, everybody goes for, everybody gets, it's toxic for like 6 months, and then it goes away. So I hope that gave you guys some insight into whether or not you want this tank, see some gameplay of it, see how it plays. It's just it's a quick, very large tank, and the size of it is going to be a problem for a lot of people. It's just hard to hide behind things and very easy to hit when you're trying to run away, but other than that, it doesn't really have any downsides. If it was half the size that it is now, it would be absolutely disgustingly overpowered. So just keep that in mind. It's really only the size of it holding it back, and if you can play it for its size, you'll be completely fine. Another thing to mention before this video ends is that it has recovery tracks. I'm sure everybody knows that, but I just want to throw that in there. If you get tracked, you can back up still. You can't drive forward, but you can back up. And another thing that's interesting to me is it actually has one better camo rating than the AMX-30B. It has 45 when stationary. The AMX-30B has 44, and then they both have 39 while moving and 9 after firing. So I hope you guys enjoyed this review and it helps you guys make a decision, and have a great day.